What is up, everybody? Welcome to Toffee Blues USA, your source for all things Everton, American style. It's the same thing as normal Toffee Blues stuff, except we have American accents, which I don't know if that would help us meet anyone, like, members of the opposite sex in a bar or anything like that. But hey, we're not that I would need that anymore. I'm married now. Dang, I keep forgetting that shit. Anyway, so joining me today, this is a cool thing because here's another one of these awesome people that I see on Twitter all the time, giving these opinions that, and backing them up, which is great. And so this is a cool time for me to meet somebody who I had no idea he was this flippin' young and impressive. So I got to introduce everybody. Contributor for GrandOldTeam. We've got Garrett Post joining us. Garrett, how are you?
I'm very good, man. Especially after those two results that we've just been treated to. It's Christmas come early, isn't it?
Yeah, man. I honestly, it was one of those things where I for some reason picked us to beat Chelsea. Like,
fair play. I did not.
No, here's the thing. I said I must have lost my damn mind before I made the prediction. And it was something about playing at home with fans and playing at Chelsea. And it was not like thinking, hey, we're going to go for the back. It was nothing like that. It was just weird vibes,
I was hoping we would go.
Anything.
I was hoping we would go for at the back, but I didn't. Yeah. I didn't think we would. But thank God that we did.
I didn't think so either, man. It's cool to have a manager that looks at results and actually pays attention to them. You know what I mean?
Like, hey. Yeah, yeah. We had the Marco Silva days where no matter what, 4-2-3-1 every game, doesn't matter what's happening, doesn't matter who's playing, doesn't matter who's injured, 4-2-3-1 every game, and that's why he got sacked. So,
dude, I had similar experiences watching Roberto Martinez, who I think is like, oh, what a nice man, who I really wanted it to work out for. But I remember every single time going, you're not changing anything, and you're getting the same results. What is going on?
Yeah.
Oh, reliving.
It's just, man, the defensive record. Like, we played some beautiful football under Roberto Martinez, but, man, that defensive record, oh, God. I'm just getting flashbacks of John Stones trying to pass out of the back right now.
I think the thing I always point to is like, okay, so we played Spurs, and they had one shot, and we lost 1-0, and that was the worst.
What was the game? It was West Brom at home. I think it was 2015-16 West Brom at home. We had like 32 shots or something and lost 1-0 because of a Solomon Rondon goal.
That sounds familiar too. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was incredulous. I was so pissed.
So if you can't tell everybody, cool thing about Garrett, just extra nugget, brilliant memory. All right. I think the young brain helps, but his recall is pretty fantastic. He was, doing a little demonstration for me before, off camera before we started recording. And he was like, just give me a fixture, any fixture. And I was just like, Stoke away last time we played them. And he was like, oh, this is what happened. And yeah
the Cenk Tosin brace in the snow. How could I forget?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And I'm just sitting here like, I don't remember what happened yesterday. You know what I mean? So it's.
You want to give me one more, Gerry? You want to give me one more?
Oh, let's see here. Yeah.
You gotta look it up. Fact check me.
I'm trying to think of a really solid one. You know what? Let's go. Can we go the first Dynamo Kiev match of Europa League? First one. Where we should have won by more, let's be honest. But
oh man, I don't know if I remember this one. I was 14 years old.
No way. Did I cut too deep there, man? Was that too deep a cut?
A little bit too deep because really it was 2015. Like I became a fan in 2012-13. I guess it's good to talk about anyway. I became a fan 2012-13. The opening day of the season when Marwan Fellaini scored header off a corner, beat United at home in Moyes' final season, which we didn't know at the time, but and then I became obsessed with that afro for some reason. 12-year-old me.
That'll do it.
But it was really 2015-16, which I think was the first season that NBC took over the rights for broadcasting, and that's when I could watch every single game, and so I did. Yep. So 24. I know I know in the second leg, I'm pretty sure we lost like 3-1 or something.
Oh, it was worse than that second leg, buddy. They beat. It was a beatdown. It was awful. It was like 5-1 maybe. Oh.
The whole blowover of when Yarmolenko moved to West Ham and everybody's like, "You've got to be kidding me! He was supposed to be our Heung-min Son or whatever."
That one still burns for me, to be honest. Yarmolenko was my personal. Everybody has that transfer that burned them. Yarmolenko was the one for me. I was following the football Ukraine account on Twitter, and the guy was like, "Yeah, Yarmolenko's coming." Yeah.
I think my guess for that game. I think for some reason it was something like 1-1 at Goodison. I think it was something like that.
Hold on.
Or was it 2-1?
Hold on.
We drew. I don't know.
I was
looking at this somewhat recently because I was looking at. I wrote an article a couple months ago called "The Top 10 Most Everton That Moments Since I Became an Evertonian," and I was considering that for my list.
2-1. 2-1.
2-1. Okay, that
2-1.
was my second guess.
Yeah, and the away was 5-2. By the way.
Give me one more. 2015-16 or no? I'm dating myself so bad right now, but.
Oh my!
2015-16 or newer, and I guarantee you I'll get it. And there's a higher chance if we won. I'll tell you that because a lot of the defeats I've purposely blocked out of my memory.
Oh gosh, see that was like my examples are coming from that season. It's not cool. Let's see here. I'm trying to think of a good Koeman result.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Koeman era.
Yeah, Koeman era result. Oh, I remember when Giroud scored 4 goals when Koeman was the man. Oh yeah, he didn't sign. Let's see here. Good Koeman results. Now I'm spacing. This is
16-17 was actually a decent season because I also did an article where I ranked every season since Moyes left, and I think 2016-17 was number 3. I think it might have been it was number 2 actually. It was number 2 because the only season we've had better than that was of course the 13-14 Roberto Martinez incredible season where we should have finished in the Champions League but we didn't.
Okay,
you got one? Okay, I'm ready.
I'm not going to give you this one, which is Everton and Dagenham and Redbridge. Not going to give you that one.
Oh, I know it though. I'm pretty sure
do?
I know it.
Go ahead.
I might be getting it confused with Rochester though, but I think Dagenham and Redbridge was 2-0, wasn't it?
It was 2-0. You know the
let's
scorers?
Go.
Do you know the scorers?
I think Kevin Morales scored a penalty, right?
Oh my God. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what was the other one?
Somebody I just saw on TV scoring 2 goals. It's a hint. But it's an obscure hint.
I mean,
he does not play for us anymore.
Calvert-Lewin cutting in and scoring one, but it wasn't Calvert-Lewin because I think that was the Rochester or something. I think that was a couple years later.
This guy was playing in Europa League this season.
I want to say Sandro Ramirez, but I don't know. Nikola Vlasic?
No.
I don't know. Well, yeah, what was this? I remember the penalty for some reason.
Aruna Kone.
Don't tell me it was Umar Nias.
Aruna Kone.
Oh, Aruna! Wow.
Aruna Kone just scored. We were watching.
What was that?
Europa League highlights.
That was 16-17. We still had Aruna Kone in 16-17.
Oh, he hung around.
Wow. Yeah, I just remember him best for the 15-16 hat trick against Sunderland at home.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I'll take the Morales penalty though. That's impressive in its own right.
You should because it's better than I could have done. I was just psyched to remember that we played Dagenham and Redbridge.
Yeah.
So, all right. Now that we get to know the fact that this guy's brain has lots of wrinkles in it and it's doing all right.
Correct.
So young fella, 20. Where you located, man?
So I am from Oakland, California, the Bay Area. I currently go to school down south in Southern California at UCSB Santa Barbara, which is like an hour and a half north of Los Angeles. But I'm currently in Oakland, home for the holidays with my family. So, yeah.
Hold on. Is UCSB the Gauchos?
Correct. We are the Gauchos. That's good knowledge.
Yeah. I think they came here to town to play against Wake Forest a couple of years ago in the NCAA tournament in soccer.
That's Wow. I wouldn't expect anybody from the East Coast to know that. So
I was at the game. I was at the game.
Well,
so
there you go. Then yeah, that's why you should know. Then yeah, I mean, our basketball program's not bad. I'll tell you that. But we're not here to talk basketball, are we?
Well, I was actually talking soccer. But yeah, it was NCAA tournament.
Oh, in the NCAA tournament. Oh, wait, that was last year.
It was not this past, but yeah, it was. Yeah, it was not this past season.
It was.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the past season. Yeah. It was.
That's what was kind of.
It was one because that was the game. I think that was the game. I'm pretty sure Wake Forest won because we knocked off Indiana in with an overtime golden goal, absolute banger from Will Bainham. I shouldn't know that, but I do. I was actually driving down from the Bay down to Santa Barbara watching it on my phone when we scored that goal. And I have a really good friend who goes to Indiana, and he was talking a lot of crap before the game. And so I texted him, like, take that, let's go.
Nice. Yeah, so that's my first connection to UCSB. And then I feel like I remember somebody like Jim Rome talking about UCSB at one point too. So on his show when I used to listen to Jim Rome back it was like 10 years ago. But so really quick, we've talked about how you became an Everton supporter. So really quick, let's wrap up a little bit. So what's your local supporters group called? Your area.
So we have Oakland Toffees with me at this place called the Athletic Club, but I actually didn't find out about them until after I had come back from the trip that I already explained to you. I went to England, visited Goodison Park and whatnot, and we went to 6 games in 10 days, me and my dad. And so then I went and watched us lose against Bournemouth, when Calvert-Lewin scored the header, but it was a defensive disaster class from Marco Silva. And so I went to that and watched it with Oakland Toffees. But then I went back to school. So I wasn't able to meet up with them much. And then I also know that there's San Francisco Toffees, and I know there's SoCal Toffees, but I haven't really been able to meet up with many people, especially because SoCal Toffees is like an hour and a half. And considering we're West Coast, games are 7 at the earliest.
Yeah.
It's a little tough.
Yeah. So that's something that people always ask. And you're the first person from California that I've spoken to on this show. So how bad does like a 7:30 Eastern time, so 4:30 Pacific, how bad is that? Is it really? It sounds like the worst thing in the world to me.
I wake up for every single one, so
good for you, dude.
It can't be that bad. It can't be that bad. I wake up. I wake up for everyone. We've already had 3 or 4 this season.
I know.
I've watched everyone this season. I watched everyone last season.
So you don't do that thing where you're like, oh, I'll just record it. I'll watch it later. You have to watch it live?
No, God, no. My mom and my sister are always like, oh, why don't you just record it? I'm like, why would I do that? No, I'm getting up and I'm watching it live. And I have one of my good friends. Shout out to Justin. I'll say I know he's going to be watching this. He wakes up all the time, and we're always texting during the 4 o'clock games. Has to be a good game though. If it's he's a City supporter, so it's either City or Everton, we'll be awake for it.
Wow, jeez. So yeah, Justin, thanks for watching. Just saying. Yeah. So we have to talk about this because it's on your Twitter profile, and we talked about it off camera, so we may as well talk about it now. They always say support your local. Well, for me, supporting my local is Wake Forest University soccer team. Your local is a little more on the high-profile side in terms of national scale. What's your local?
My local is the San Jose Earthquakes, which is funny because when I was in England and I was meeting Evertonians and they said, "Oh, what's your local club?" I said, "Oh, it's the Earthquakes. They're only about a 45-minute drive." They looked at me like I was crazy because that's the U.S. is huge, and so my closest to me that's a very close team nearby, and it's it's far. But the first live professional game I ever went to was the Earthquakes against the Galaxy in a matchup called the Cali Clasico, played at Stanford Stadium. And I remember that we won that game 4-3. It was David Beckham was playing, so I got to see David Beckham. He actually scored a free kick in that game, but the Earthquakes did what they always do. They came from behind, especially back in those days. That was the Supporter Shield winning season, 2012-13. Came back from behind in Goonies Never Say Die was the whole the whole phrase. Yeah, you might remember that. It was Wando, it was Alan Gordon, and it was Steven Lenhart up there just wreaking havoc in second half stoppage time. Oh, yeah, there you go. Goonies right. So it was Steven Lenhart coined that phrase, and I think the Earthquakes recovered something like 15 points that season when losing or tying in second half stoppage time. Like basically the Earthquakes scored in stoppage time every single game, and it would either be an equalizer or a game winner. I saw like 4 of them myself that season alone because it happened every game. It was crazy.
Dang. That's the kind of thing that will hook you for a while, though, when you get to see those kind of results, you know?
Yeah.
Very
Especially
cool.
that one when, you know, it's backs against the wall. We're down 3-1 against the Galaxy. David Beckham just curled in a free kick from 25 yards. Landon Donovan scored. I should like Landon Donovan, you know, former Quakes player, former Everton player. But the thing is that when he left Europe to come back to the MLS, what did he do? He snaked the Quakes and he went to our arch rivals, the Galaxy.
Yeah, he did.
So for that reason, I have to hate him, even though he should be the player that I love, right? He played for my local, and he played for Everton, and he's played for the U.S. men's national team. But I can't do it, man. He has no loyalty.
So a lot of people would say, you know, God in a soccer shirt is Leo Messi. You don't say that. You have somebody else that is your
Okay, no. Let me before I start getting accused of some crazy stuff on Twitter, like I saw. No, Leo Messi is the greatest player of all time, and I will back that to the end till I die. He is the greatest player of all time. However, he's only my second favorite player because number one is here. Hold up, let me go get this real quick. My favorite player of all time is Mr. Christopher Wondolowski.
Oh, he's number 8.
He is number 8, which makes no sense. He should be number 9.
Makes no sense. Yeah,
he should be number 9, but that's the MLS sometimes.
Yes, it is.
Doesn't make sense.
It's like Everton does that nonsense too.
Premier League does it too. N'Golo Kante's number 7. What?
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person who, like, when someone doesn't have the number of the position they play, it drives me insane. Like, Richarlison 30, couldn't get behind that, had to wait for him to switch to 7, and that's when I bought the kit with his name on the back.
What was Schneiderlin's first number? I think it was 2.
Was it? Yeah, but I know he switched to 18 at some point, right?
Yeah, eventually, but he was 2 at first, and it was driving me nuts. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was just like, let's take something, whatever's there. Yeah. Be better than that, though.
Yeah, really.
So, Wondolowski.
So obviously, when you hear Wondolowski, immediately you think Belgium, you think 2014 World Cup, and I understand that. You know, a big part of how people will remember him is that. But the reason I love him so much is not only has he been the captain of my local team for the last 9 seasons, he's also, and, you know, obviously he's the MLS all-time leading goal scorer, and he's incredible. But he's the ultimate underdog story. He played Division II college soccer. He was the 4th to last draft pick in the super draft, like 2000. Nice. I don't know, 2006, 2007, something like that. He should not have made it at all. He should have had no chance of making it, but instead he goes and scores. I think he's on like 170 MLS goals now. He's by far and away the greatest goal scorer in the history of the MLS. And he's not physically gifted. He's not technically gifted, but man, he knows where the back of the net is, and he gets into the right position to score always. He's the ultimate poacher because it's all he does, but he's outrageously successful with it. Like, you shouldn't be able to score that many goals just from poaching, but he does it.
Yep. I mean, yeah, poaching is the word I think about, and scrapping, you know, just the idea of knowing where to be and when to be there.
Oh, I think the epitome of that is the record, the goal that broke the Landon Donovan's record for the all-time MLS goal scoring, record. Just said record so many times. Was against the Chicago Fire. And basically what happened was there was a cross that came in. It was a wet, rainy day at Earthquake Stadium, at the time called Avaya Stadium. It's now been renamed because Avaya went bankrupt. That's cool. And it comes to, I believe it was David Alstead in goal. And it's wet, it's slippery. This cross comes straight to the keeper. He drops it. Wando's right there, taps it in. That's the record. And it was the most Wando way for him to break it.
I love it. Because honestly, speaking as somebody who got the majority of his goals off trash, I'm just saying they still count.
Of course, yeah.
I called so much crap about it, but and honestly, you're just thinking, I'm just following the shots, guys. I'm just following the shots, and the keeper's balling. It's not my bad, you know.
It was my first goal playing competitive soccer was against our biggest rivals. It was 2-2, and I scored the winner. There was probably less than 3 minutes left, and it was a total tap in. But who cares? It was the game winner against our biggest rival. So I was all hyped up, and my teammates were looking at me like, "Okay, dude, okay, it was a tap in." But you gotta be there, and that's what Wando is he will finish basically anything you give to him, and it just sucks that the one thing he didn't finish is the thing that people will remember him for. Even though Clint Dempsey missed an even better chance where it wasn't on the bobble like 5 minutes earlier, but you never hear people complaining about Clint Dempsey.
I feel like you've never had to have this discussion before, ever.
Oh yeah, no, totally not, never. Never. I've never had to defend Chris Wando.
I'm so sorry.
But that's the thing is that that happened to him, and that could have like destroyed his confidence, right? Mm-hmm. But no, he's Chris Wondolowski. He's the ultimate underdog story. So he comes back, he scores. I think he broke the record for most seasons where he scored 10 plus goals. I think he scored 10 plus goals for like 8 seasons in a row or something like that. Yeah. Goes on, plays until he's now 37, breaks the all-time MLS goal scoring record, despite, everybody basically saying, his career doesn't matter because of this, this literally half a second moment in the World Cup in a game that the U.S. should have been absolutely annihilated in if it weren't for Tim Howard's heroics.
Tim Howard was really solid at that time when people were just a barrage of shots.
The memes after that game were fantastic. Yes. Fantastic. Secretary of Defense and whatnot.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think with Wando, I think not many people realize how much effort it takes to be a poacher. You know what I mean? Because it takes, there's a reason why not everybody gets those follow shots. You know what I mean? Those rebound
totally.
shots. You have to constantly be running to get in position to get there. You have to be up here, but also it's got to be right here. You know what I mean? You got to be willing to do what no one else is.
Yeah, there's a fantastic article on The Athletic. If anybody has a subscription, I highly recommend you go read it about, it's a bunch of interviews with former teammates and teams that he played on, like the Chico State team, which is where he played soccer in college, football, whatever. And then when he was playing for the Dynamo, and talking about how he is not athletic. He has a dad bod. He probably can't touch his toes, right? But he never got injured. He never stopped running ever. Yep. Like he had the craziest engine, and it made no sense because he's the kind of guy that should have been gassed after 5 minutes. But he's sprinting around the box the whole game. When he was playing in the MLS All-Star game, there's a clip of John Terry coming up to him at halftime and saying, "Your movement is a nightmare," because that's what it is. Is he gets in the box and he never stops moving. And if you take your eye off of him for half a second, it's a goal every time.
Honestly, and hearing you talk about him, I feel like he should be my favorite player too. Like seriously,
he's so underappreciated.
Everything you're saying,
man. He's so underappreciated.
Everything you're saying is the stuff I value, like big time stuff I value.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I'll give you one more before we move on. Is there was a time where he got suspended. He's the captain, and there's a thing. I'll say this real quick. There's a thing they call it the Wando blackout. It's whenever he scores and whenever there's like a fight or a scuffle on the field, and he just turns into a different person, and he doesn't even like remember it after. He just goes crazy. So when he scores, you'll see angry celebrations all the time because he just goes nuts. They call it the Wando blackout. And there was this time where he did a Wando blackout because there was a rough challenge on one of his players. He got all pissed. He got a second yellow, gets sent off. Next game, he's in the ultras with his shirt off, waving his shirt when the Earthquakes go 1-0 up in the crowd. It's a fantastic GIF that you can see on Twitter.
That's why I've heard about it.
Wando no shirt in the ultras when he's suspended. Good. That is the type of guy he is. It's the type of player he is. It's the type of captain that he is, and that's why I will forever love him.
Okay, that is awesome. And I wasn't expecting all of this Wando material either. I
have a lot of Wando material. I mean, I've met him like 3 times as well. I've met him like 3 times, and he's a fantastic guy. So
I was waiting for you to be like, actually, he's my roommate. He's like,
no, I have him on speed dial. You want me to call him real quick?
So, turning this back to Everton. Favorite current Everton player right now?
Richarlison.
Popular choice. Popular
Easy.
choice.
Gotta be Richarlison.
Okay.
I fell in love with him ever since that brace at Molineux on his debut.
Yeah.
Even though he was wearing number 30, I was like, wow. I remember, being on Twitter like the summer before that season, and I was so pissed that we missed out on Malcolm, who's now, rotting away on the Zenit St. Petersburg bench or wherever he is. He might have moved to China by now. I have no clue. But I was so pissed we didn't get Malcolm, who was playing for Bordeaux at the time. And then I see we're linked with Richarlison, who I remember who had scored against us the year prior at Goodison. But, as you know, the figure that the media were saying, which was absolutely not true, was 50 million.
Right.
And I was sitting there like, oh no, this is Balassi part 2. But it was not. 35 million is what it ended up being, probably up to 40 because he's done so well with, the incentives and whatnot. But
how they do that though with us in transfers. They always take the highest dollar amount. With Lukaku, they said it was, they were not right.
Oh, Alex Iwobi, perfect example. Oh, 40 million. No, it's 28, but okay.
Yeah. They always do that.
It's Paul Merson knew the Richarlison transfer ruins the transfer market. And now we have another pundit who's just talking nonsense about Everton, which is I don't know if I'm sure you've seen, is Gabriel Agbonlahor on TalkSport, which is just a total joke.
He's not even the one I thought you were talking about. That's hilarious.
Oh, what was the one you were thinking of?
I thought you were gonna go with the them talking about how Carlo was a bad man. I think is it Murphy? Talking about how Carlo is a bad fit for us.
There's been a whole bunch of them saying Carlo is a bad fit, or like I know ESPN FC specifically
geez, that one
before when there was still the rumors of Carlo getting appointed, they were all like, no, this is a horrible idea.
We need to adjust our expectations that Moyes is the best.
He can't win unless he can't. David Moyes is the best Everton can do. Okay, sure. I mean, to be fair to David Moyes, he's killing it right now.
He's doing well. Yeah.
I thought when West Ham reappointed him, I thought they were going to get relegated for sure. And they barely escaped, but they've put together a run of form. And it's ever since he got COVID and was working from home and they had his face on like a little iPad, West Ham's form has gone way up. Like I saw a lot of West Ham fans saying like, David, stay at home, David.
I remember that too. So I always ask this of first-time guests. Who's the player, and I'm curious where you go with this, the player that best represents your personality? So take you, turn it into an all-time Everton player. It doesn't matter what year. By the way, you drinking out of that jar, immediately I'm like, geez, Garrett hitting the moonshine. All right.
No, it's just water.
I know, but every time I drink anything out of a jar like that, it's probably illegal.
The mason jar, yeah. I'll save that for after the show.
Oh no, this is the first time I've had such a long, rough, stressful week. I'm having a beer during the show, and I don't even care. I'm just like, it's happening.
That's solid.
I never do that,
solid.
But I was like, you know what? I'm relaxing and I'm having fun with Garrett. It's just going to be okay.
Yeah, I respect that. I'll tell you, I respect that a lot.
So who is the Everton player any year that's you're like, yeah, that's me?
Wow. Man, that's a tough question.
It could
be. You would have asked me that ahead of time, so I could have thought about it.
I'm always curious.
I'm going to say I don't want to go with Richarlison. You know what? I'll go with Seamus Coleman.
Right on.
I don't know, maybe not reflect me that much, but he, is someone foreign. He was not born with blue blood, right? He's not. Right. He was not born on the north half of Merseyside or whatever. Yeah. But man, he gives 100% for Everton, and he loves Everton. And I could say the same about Leighton Baines too, except that he is like a born Evertonian. When he had the opportunity to go to Everton, he went, and he never left, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'll go with Seamus Coleman. He's the captain. He's someone foreign, but came to Everton, fell in love with Everton, and gives his all, still does, to the club, and is now rightfully club captain. And I'm very excited to see him back on Saturday, by the way. That's gonna be fantastic.
Is it actually happening? Is he coming back on Saturday?
That's what Carlos said. Carlos said that in the press conference before Leicester, he said that he wasn't going to risk him for Leicester, but if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure Sheamus will be starting on Saturday.
We got to talk about that for
Yeah,
Arsenal.
we will. Because
That's a
changes
huge
things.
yes.
That changes things. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we definitely got to talk about that. I'm really curious about thoughts on that. So Seamus Coleman, cool answer. That's a good one. I always immediately I'm kind of like, well, Leighton Baines was my first shirt. I love Leighton Baines. He's way cooler than I'll ever be. So I could never say Leighton Baines as my answer.
That's fair. Leighton Baines his I don't know if it's still around, but he used to have like an he had his photography Instagram account, which didn't have his name on it, but people knew it was Leighton Baines because he had like pictures of Tom Davis on there or something.
He's friends with the Arctic Monkeys. He's ridiculously cool.
He is like he does make me think of the Arctic Monkeys guy. The who's the lead singer? What's his name?
I don't know. I'm old.
But especially like a couple years ago when he had kind of the long slicked back hair Leighton Baines did.
Yeah. I mean, that's the crazy stuff. I mean, he's too cool, man. I could never.
Yeah, I'm so happy he's still working at the club. Fantastic.
Yeah, he's the best, man. I love that dude. So only a couple more questions. What's something unique about you that most folks wouldn't know?
Wow. I make music. That's what I'll say. I make music. I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm actually on Spotify, which is cool.
Oh.
So most people who know me in real life know that about me, but I have never talked about it on Twitter or anything. So
that's
awesome.
I'll
just put that out there. Yeah.
Exclusive. It's a Toffee Blues exclusive.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Toffee Bluesive. So so then see the next question. That's awesome information. I love that. So I was gonna say the next question, the last one, on what subject are you like an expert? And would you say music is probably your thing that you
I'm not an expert at music. I'm not I know a good amount. What am I an expert in knowledge? Star Wars trivia. I'll tell you that. I'm a big Star Wars guy. I know a lot about Star Wars, so I'll take that. I've met some people who can match me, but not many. Maybe two in my entire life. So wow. I'll say that. And then alongside that, Everton. I'd like to call myself an Everton expert. You know, I don't remember things from the 70s and 80s, but I feel like I have, considering I've been a fan for 8 years, I think I have a pretty good knowledge and obviously memory about Everton stuff. So that's what I'll say. But for something non-Everton related, I'll go Star Wars for sure.
Okay, Star Wars. Was Last Jedi good?
No. It's not as bad as some people think it is.
Shots fired!
It's not as bad as some people think it is, but the people who say it's good are still out of their minds. So it's somewhere in between horrible and below average.
I was curious as to what kind of Star Wars fan you were. I feel like that's a very
Empire Strikes Back is the best one.
I agree. I don't know anybody who can debate that though. That's like a fact.
No, I have people who say that A New Hope is the best. I'm like, you're crazy, man. The first half of A New Hope is so slow. Like it's a classic movie. I love it, but like Empire Strikes Back is perfect. It's my favorite movie ever. So
Empire, the second movie in trilogies, usually is the best.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You know what's actually snuck up into like my number 2 spot ever? Rogue One. Brilliant movie.
Rogue One. I liked Rogue One. I liked that one. I did like that one. Yep.
Gareth Edwards should have been put on the sequels, man. I'm telling you.
So, and I didn't actually hate Last Jedi the way everybody else did, but
no, it's still strong. Like
I also think
it's better than no Star Wars movie in my opinion. So
it could have been me being contrarian, though. You know what I mean? Like everybody's like, everybody hates it. Maybe I'm just gonna like it then. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
So but I didn't hate it, but I get it. There's a couple parts that annoy me, you know, but. Anyway, so first segment done. We now know everything about Garrett.
Yep, absolutely everything.
Everything about Garrett Post ever.
Correct.
So
correct.
And now Garrett's going to drop some knowledge on us because everybody, you need to be aware of the fact Garrett's an aspiring sports writer. So he's prepped a lot for this show. I'm pretty certain he's prepped more than I have. And I did my normal prep. Just saying. So I have my typical stuff that I write down to like get things started. But to be honest with you, Garrett's got a lot to discuss. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally just take the baton and go, here, man. He's going to hold it. I'm gonna let him roll and let him go wherever he wants to go, and I'm gonna go with him. And I just hope it's nowhere scary. All right.
It won't be. It won't be.
Okay.
I mean, it's 2 Everton wins. It can't be that scary, right?
This is very true. It's it's never a bad thing when Spirit of the Blues is all over my Twitter timeline.
Oh yeah. Oh, I tweeted it the other last night, or was it? Yeah, last night I went for a run up the hill behind my house, and I just had Spirit of the Blues blasting on repeat in my AirPods while I was running. Fueled me on.
Man, my kid played in a game this weekend after Everton had beaten Chelsea, and we have a little like pump up mix that we listen to before his games, and so yeah, like Zed Cars came on, and then in the middle he goes,
"You're raising him right."
Oh my gosh, yeah, man, can't help it. It's just, but
that's what I'm gonna do. I've thought about this plenty. I'm like, I swear, if my child grows up to be a copite, I'm disowning them.
No way. Absolutely no way.
I can't let it happen.
Oh, but yeah, he was like dying for Spirit of the Blues. I'm like, it's on shuffle, man. I'm sorry, my phone always does this.
Yeah. So it's a good song, man. It's a good song.
Oh my gosh, I'm bad shit for it now, man. Every single time I see any video ever that has that on there, I'm just giggling like an idiot. I can't help it, man. It's so good. It puts me in the best mood. So let's talk. I already spoiled it for anybody who hasn't watched the Chelsea match by now, but yeah, we won that one. It was a soundly thump. It was a thumping of Chelsea 1-0. Just kidding. It was
completely, utterly dominant performance.
Clinging, butt cheeks clenched for a while. So let's talk about
my heart rate. The final like 10 minutes was ridiculous.
So let's. Where do you want to go first with the Chelsea match, man?
So let's talk about. I mean, I started with. I have a little section here. Just pre-match, right? So lineup comes out. We saw some interesting things. So obviously, Gylfi comes into the lineup starting.
Yeah. For
the first time since Newcastle, I believe, when we tried the whole Christmas tree experiment because Charleston and James were both out. So. We pretty quickly figure out, okay, this is going to be a 4 at the back, and obviously we have Godfrey at left back and we have Mason Holgate at right back. So there's 4 center backs on the pitch, but obviously Mason Holgate played right back at West Brom for an entire season in the championship. Ben Godfrey, I don't believe, has any experience at left back.
Is that the one that furrowed your brow the most, seeing him at left back?
A little bit, because I still am not quite sure why Niels Nkunku hasn't seen the light of day since the Newcastle game, because I really didn't think he was that bad against Newcastle. I thought he was all right. I don't think he was really our defensive problems that game, but I understood it because Godfrey was playing very well at right back when he was filling in there. And so it didn't surprise me to see Holgate at right back. That made a lot of sense because, Jonjo Kenny's very suspect defensively, and we're playing against Chelsea, who were at the time the second highest leading scorers in the entire league. And, they have a striker who scored 26 Bundesliga goals last year. So it made sense to me. I saw some people saying it was 4-4-2 pre-match, but I think pretty evidently we saw that Richarlison was on the left side still, and DCL was I wouldn't say isolated because Gylfi Sigurdsson was kind of pressing almost as like a second forward. Because we were defending in like a 4-4-1-1 almost, because we know Carlo loves the 2 lines of 4 defending,
right? And
then we had DCL pressing high, and Gylfi would go up and press high. So it was almost like a 4-4-2 in defense, but more with Gylfi as the striker instead of Richarlison.
Right. Yeah, I think that was one of the things that I'm always curious to see how formation shifts when we're defending versus when we're attacking. It's always, it's something that I don't think I was really watching for like 3 years ago. And now it's like the first thing I'm like, okay, who's pressing? Who's up top? How are they shifting? Yeah. Where are they pressing?
I mean, we didn't have to watch that 2 years ago because it was a 4-2-3-1 every single game. So there was no change. But now with Andrew not afraid to switch tactics and tinker. Maybe
mid-game.
Too much at sometimes. Yeah, even mid-game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, in that Burnley game, I'm telling you, as much as it sucks that Delph got injured, I mean, which is not surprising to see him pull up after 20 minutes or whatever it was. But that forced us to switch to a back 4, and I think that was the best thing that we could have done. So I'm not saying the Delph injury was the best thing that ever happened, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it's probably beneficial for the squad and for the upcoming results. So yeah, and I think we'd be remiss not to talk about fans being back at Goodison Park.
Yeah, agreed. And that was the thing. That was why I made my ill-advised prediction to say, "Oh, we're going to beat Chelsea," which was based on nothing except for the fact that, hey, fans are back, and I realize it's not a packed Goodison, but that's still friggin' rad. And I know some of the people who are going to be out there, which is awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, the 2,000, they sounded like immediately, I was like, wow, the 2,000 sounds like 20. Sounds like 20,000 in there. They were loud. Yeah. Which is great. They were representing everybody watching at home really well.
Definitely.
My prediction, I think, was 3-2 Chelsea, because I do a series every week called Behind Enemy Lines, where I talk to a fan or a journalist or whoever who supports the team we're about to play.
Mm-hmm.
And for the Chelsea game, I talked to Zach Jalab, who you might know. He's a host on Football Daily. Really cool guy. I'm a big fan of his content. And he predicted a 3-1 to Chelsea, which I thought was pretty realistic. But I was like, there's fans. I'll be optimistic. Let's say 3-2. It's more of a game. But we were very wrong. I did not expect us to keep a clean sheet against Chelsea.
Yeah, it was. So you watch a game like that. It's still satisfying, right? It's still satisfying, but it's a strange tactical, victory when you go in and you're maybe not. If someone's a casual viewer just flips it on, it doesn't necessarily appear as though your team is straight up dominant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not as satisfying as the Burnley 5-1 on Boxing Day. That was one of the most satisfying ones when, I had a whole bunch of goals to watch on replay for the next week. Right. But this one, I have Dominic Calvert-Lewin getting absolutely football tackled by Edouard Mendy. So, but in terms of defensive performances, it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was stellar. I was because I had to go watch my kid play. So that's what just sort of happens like almost every game now. I'm either working or my kid's playing. So I have to watch a recording later. So I wasn't as on pins and needles because I knew what was happening. I knew what was going to go down.
So you already knew the score before you watched the recording.
Too many. I get I'm getting messages from Everton telling me what's going on. And then we have the Toffee Blues chat board, message group. Yeah. And they're constantly going back and forth, and it's hilarious. And I can't help but know. And I've gotten to the point where I'm like, spoilers me. It's okay. I want to know if for some reason we play like crap. I want to know it. And will I still watch it?
Just so you mentally prepare yourself for like
brace.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. I was going to pull up your.
Oh yeah, so we can start. So we game started, picked up a similar pattern to what we would see. Chelsea had most of the ball. They weren't really creating anything. In the 7th minute, which I think this is a theme that we'll be discussing plenty, is that Richarlison gets through from a pass from Gylfi Sigurdsson, I believe, and he's in that type of situation. It's something you expect him to score, knowing how ruthless he is in front of goal. It made me think of his goal against Crystal Palace last year when he jinked inside of Gary Cahill and then slotted it right in Guaita's bottom left-hand corner. But it was a poor strike. It was a poor finish, down low, maybe only 2-3 feet away from Edouard Mendy. A P roller. Seems like he scuffed it. Very savable. Mendy catches it. Doesn't even have to parry or anything. And it seemed indicative of a trend that we've seen this year, which is that Richie's been specifically poor in front of goal, which is very unlike him. Was in a bit of a rut, and it happened again. But that was later. The next thing that happened pretty much was the penalty, which is Jordan Pickford, long ball out from he's at the top of his 18. Calvert-Lewin takes it down on his head, essentially, which is pretty outrageous. And then he had no chance of scoring in this situation. I don't know what Edouard Mendy's thinking, but as soon as Calvert-Lewin sees Mendy coming out, he's like, I just need to get a touch on this ball, and he's coming straight at me. And that's what he does. He touches the ball. He's going to lose the ball, but Mendy just completely takes him out, and it's a penalty every day of the week.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little for the keeper that's kind of been Chelsea's go-to guy lately. It seemed a surprising decision to take him out because it didn't look like he was as dangerous as he could have been in that situation.
And there were 3 Chelsea defenders around him. I highly doubt he would have kept the ball for more than another second or so.
Yeah.
It was questionable. It was questionable.
So then Sigurdsson takes the kick.
We'll take it. Oh yeah, but I mean, we have the whole scuffle. Richarlison wants to take the penalty. You know, he wants to get some form behind him, right? He scored 1 goal. You know, prior to that, which was a penalty against Crystal Palace, which he emphatically put into the top left corner. But Gylfi is like, no, I'm not having it. I'm on the field. I'm the penalty taker. And he does exactly what he did against Leicester at Project Restart. Little hesitation. He completely looks up, looks Mendy the wrong way, and then just rolls it into the other corner. I mean, it's a brilliant penalty, to be honest. Yeah. It's just fantastic. It's risky because if Mendy doesn't buy it, or if keepers start catching on to that, it could be a problem. But it's better than him smacking it off the crossbar, which he's done multiple times in an Everton shirt. So
I hate this kind of PK so much, man. I hate those kind of penalties so much. I just want to be like, pick a side and go. You know what I mean? Oh my gosh. But the thing
ideally you hit it so hard and so pure into the corner that even if they guess the right way, they're not saving it.
The thing that got me about that whole situation though was Richarlison asking for it was a little surprising, but I get he wants to break momentum for himself. He wants to get a ball rolling for himself. I get it, but it's a little bit of a selfish move. I love Alon coming in and going, look, chill out. He's taking it. Where was that kind of stuff when Morales was grabbing from the ball back in the day? You know what I mean? That should have happened then. You got to have some friggin' tough guy to come in and be like
that. And that's what you get with an experienced player like Alon. You know, he's been around the block. He's 30. That's awesome. And he is, you know, or is he 29 or did he turn 30 already?
I have no idea.
I know when we signed him, he was 29. He feels much older. The way he carries himself, you think he's Wondolowski's age, right? 37. But except, well, I mean, he has the same kind of engine, really, doesn't he? But that was great. And luckily, you know, a little foreshadowing, Richie would eventually get his goal this week. So But so then after that penalty, it was all Chelsea. They really turned on the pressure. And this is another recurring theme because the same thing happened yesterday after Richarlison's goal, but we'll get to that later. But it becomes all Chelsea.
Yeah.
So we have a free kick that Reece James wins from Richarlison, who you know takes him down from behind. There's no arguing about it. And it's a relatively comfortable save for Pickford. He tries to go to Pickford's near post. But it's 30 yards from goal, and it wasn't that far in the corner. If that goes in, it's an awful mistake, realistically.
Yeah. I got to tell you, the more I'm watching Reece James, it's pretty great.
He's a quality player. He's a quality player. There were a lot of people on Twitter after the game. It's like, wow, he was basically Chelsea's only good player tonight. Him and maybe Mason Mount, who honestly was unlucky not to score in the game. But Reece James was, and Richarlison could not get the beating of him at all. He really couldn't. The only time he did is if he had numbers. But you know, Ben Godfrey is not an attacking left back. He's not Luka Dean, so he's not gonna bomb forward and draw number off so Richarlison can do whatever he wants. And he was struggling with him a lot. And also he was pushing so far forward, but he has that recovery pace so that, you know, he was having arguably the greatest attacking influence of any player in the Chelsea side from right back, but he wasn't getting caught out just because his blazing pace. He's very, very fast.
Yeah. It's that was one of those watching that game. I was kind of like, you know, I realized Richarlison is like a seriously dangerous player, but Reece James just pretty much for the most part shut him down. And that's not a slight on Richarlison because, again, Richarlison does a lot of stuff besides score goals. Throwing that out there, but he was having a little poor form in front of goal, but he was still getting assists, getting back and playing great defense.
His work rate is outrageous. He was suspended for 3 games. He still leads the all forwards in the league with tackles with 24. and he's only played 10 of the 13 games. And actually, and that's more like 12 because remember he came off early in the Brighton game, only played 20 minutes of that game. So yeah, his defensive, he and I wrote this in my article, he's as much a defensive asset as he is an offensive one for Everton. I fully believe that because his tracking back is second to none.
So Chelsea is, pushing hard after
and we have the Reece James free kick.
Yeah,
and then we have the Reece.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, and then we have the Reece James. We have the Reece James chance. I think it's like off. The corner gets headed out. A Chelsea corner gets headed out by Everton defender, someone I don't remember. And it gets recycled, and it comes back to Reece James, who hits it. It takes a little nick off Abdoulaye Doucouré, and then Jordan Pickford gets the slightest of touches on his diving outstretched right hand, just the slightest of fingertips, but that takes it off the post and out for a corner. And at first we were like, wow, Reece James hits the post. But when you see it again, it's a phenomenal save is what it is.
Yeah, honestly, starting to feel a little bit better about Pickford's work lately. Thought he played for the most part. He had one or two.
He had his moments in the second half, which we'll get.
He made me a little nervous here or there. He did, but not bad. It was a lot. I'm feeling more comfortable with him back there because I feel like he's getting more comfortable. He's concentrating a lot more, which is nice. So anyway,
I think it was important for him. To get those first two saves in the game, and then So, but maybe he might have gotten a little bit too confident at that point in the second half. But that was a really good save off Reece James, and they had one more chance after that, which was when Olivier Giroud knocked down a header for Kurt Zouma, who had to spin in the box and take a shot, and it was right at Pickford, and he collected very easily. It could have been, it probably should have been a better chance. Zuma didn't do much with it. It was basically right at Pickford, but he also didn't have a lot of time or anything. He basically just had to swivel and hit it, and it happened to go right at Pickford. But then after that, there wasn't really that much. Chelsea were still pressing really high, but they didn't really fashion any chances in the first half after that.
Right. So now we're moving on second half. We actually had, we didn't, not a poor first half, but just not dominant, just kind of did enough. So then second half starts, and we're not really dominant. We're, for the most part, it seems like we're playing safe. Did it feel at times like if we had not scored that first goal, do you think it was like playing for a draw almost?
Potentially. I think we might have been a little bit more up and at him. I think once we got that first goal, surprisingly, I think Carlo was really confident in the back line because we had defended relatively well. Other than that one, 5 to 10 minute spell directly after the goal, the last, 15 or so minutes of the half, Chelsea really got nothing. They had a lot of the ball, of course, but they weren't getting many chances. And so I don't. If it was 0-0, I think we still would have been countering, and we had a counterattacking chance at the end of the first half, where Iwobi wins the ball, plays it to Sigurdsson, who has a really nice through ball for Richarlison, who unfortunately it seems like he slips a little bit and he hits it left-footed, but it's basically right at Mendy. But I think we would have been doing the same thing, and we did it against Leicester too, where even if the score is tied, and we were doing this the first 20 minutes before Richarlison's goal against Leicester, we're still going to sit back, not let them create anything really of note, and then hit them on the counter, because when we don't have James in and we have Iwobi on the right wing, that gives us a lot more vertical threat. We're a lot more dangerous on the counter, whereas if we have James on the right and we don't really have any width, any vertical threat on the right, we're much better, more dangerous when we're in possession. But against Chelsea and Leicester, that's not really what we're going to be doing. And so I think, and I heard people talking about this, but I think potentially not having James might have been beneficial for the game plan. I still maybe would have played him over Sigurdsson in the 10. If he had the legs, maybe sub him off 60th minute or something, so you can get someone who presses better for the final half hour. But I think I don't think much would have been different if it was still 0-0 at that point, to be honest. Yeah,
because I got to be honest, watching Sigurdsson press and creating turnovers here and there by work rate, which was awesome to see him doing that lately. Yeah, love it. Yeah, that's fine. Gylfi's one of those where you're kind of like, I know you have the lungs and the ability to be able to work. Like, we know that. I think it was more some stuff going on up here. And now that he's finding a specific role, he knows his role a little bit better, and he's handling it. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So
Then you have another Richie Chance on the counter, cutting in from the left side as he usually does. Not a horrible effort, saved by Mendy, and then we have a free kick that Gylfi sends just over the bar. It was actually a decent effort. I just wanted to know, I still think it's outrageous that he has not scored a single free kick for Everton, other than the one in the preseason friendly against Blackpool this year. But other than that, this so-called dead ball specialist, who it seemed like he couldn't miss when he was playing for Swansea, still has not in over three, coming up on 3.5 seasons playing for Everton, has not scored a single free kick.
Mm-hmm. And I will say there's a decent amount of those free kicks that he is sharing duties, right? So,
well, he was sharing duties last season because Luka Dean could actually score them. So
he was making like everything, But I'm wondering if Swansea, when he played for Swansea, how much, if he was just on all of them because they knew he was a threat.
He was on every single one, and he was scoring them. He banged one in at Old Trafford that I remember, and he scored I think he scored something like 5 or 6 in his final season at Swansea. That could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was something like that. He scored a lot of them.
And to be fair, dude, I just want to be clear. I'm giving him benefit of the doubt on that slightly, but I would agree it's friggin' weird, all right, because he is that guy, right? I will say his corners,
that's part of what we
are
bought
getting
him
better
for,
too.
man.
Yes, exactly. But he's putting
his
some
delivery
dangerous balls
his
in the
delivery's been decent from corners. There was still one. There was I think it was at the beginning of the Chelsea game. There was one. It was either a free kick or a corner or something that didn't beat the first man. And I angrily tweeted on Twitter, I'm like, man, people are saying to include Gylfi because he's a set piece specialist, but he can't even freaking deliver a set piece. But after that, he put in quite a few good balls, including the one which led to Mason Holgate's goal. But again, I need to stop foreshadowing. We'll get to that. And then we have DCL winning another penalty. It was a through ball from Iwobi. He cuts inside of I don't think it was Zuma. I think it was Thiago Silva. He cuts inside, and then Ben Chilwell just kind of gets the wrong side of him. Dom goes down. It's a penalty, but unfortunately, he is quite clearly incorrectly offside when Iwobi hits the through ball. But again, it shows even when he's not scoring, man, he's so valuable because he runs backlines ragged, and if you just don't think about the offside, that's 2 penalties that he wins just by following up balls and by giving the defense a hard time.
My favorite DCL contribution. I know he's scoring a lot of goals. I know. Yes, that's the best. I know. But the fact that he wins so many 50-50 balls, like off goal kicks, and he is, I feel like it's something that is just we haven't had in like a long time, is a player who's going to win those 50-50s, help us maintain possession, or help start a break, which he has done with those before. It's his hold-up play, man. Yeah, I'm so psyched.
It's almost like Duncan Ferguson is his strikers coach.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I mean? Yeah.
But it was like he had that ability. He's had that ability for a while. I remember in the game that we beat Arsenal 1-0 at home when Phil Jagielka scored at the end of the 2018-19 season when we had that great run where we beat Chelsea and Arsenal and United all at home. And there was in that Arsenal game, he had something like 17 aerials won, which was just outrageous. And everybody's talking about, man, he is a physical freak. He's a threat in the air. Like he wins everything, but he never had that final quality. Which he's now found since Carlo Ancelotti came to the club, which is what he was missing because we knew that he was fast. We knew he was strong. We knew that he could leap in the air and win all these 50-50s. But then adding that goal scoring is, he wouldn't get a solid run of games under Marco Silva because he couldn't score. And so we would be forced to play Richarlison up top, or we'd be forced to try Cenk Tosun when he was healthy up top. But now that Calvert-Lewin's added that, he really is the complete number 9, in my opinion, at the moment.
Yeah, man. I think you put him in front of goal enough times, and also you give him better service. You know what I mean? Like,
definitely,
just much better service. His the percentage of chances that he's getting is just higher percentage chances because the service he's getting is a lot of times right in front of the goal. You know, it just
I'm
works
not
out.
sure of the updated stat, but I know that as of a couple of weeks ago, he had the most shots on target of any striker in Europe's top 5 leagues. So he hasn't had a lack of service. Definitely not.
That's awesome. All right, so moving on. We were just on DCL winning a penalty, but VAR doesn't like it because of offside.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
where you want to go?
Oh, well, actually, I think there's one thing that we forgot was right before that was we were talking about Jordan Pickford, and there was the chance where he had an unconvincing punch. Conte lays it off to Mason Mount, and it really should be 1-1 at that point because Mason Mount just barely overhits the chip. But that was a mistake from Pickford, and he got away with it. But I think we should definitely mention that. And that leads into what happened right after DCL. The second penalty is overturned for offside. Is we have a free kick where Reece James turns Gylfi Sigurdsson because Gylfi Sigurdsson is running towards the middle of the field instead of getting goal side of him for some reason. I really didn't understand that. And then he easily gets turned by Reece James, who has that turn of pace. Doucouré has to come in, ends up clumsily taking him out from behind, and then it's Jordan Pickford getting away with another thing where he cheats way too far to his right. Mason Mount goes the other way, clanks it off the post.
Mm-hmm. Jeez.
And at that point, you think it really should be 1-1 at this point with those two chances that Mason Mount had and wasted.
Yeah. So were you thinking this is gonna go down, it's gonna be a draw, or we're gonna lose? Or are you thinking we're gonna hold on because Carlo's in charge?
I think after Mount missed the free kick for some reason, when he hit that ball, I was like, okay, that's gonna go in. I see it hit off the post. I had immediate sigh of relief, and then just from the next 5 minutes, that was basically the last chance they had in the entire game. They didn't have it. Here's a fun fact: they didn't register a single shot on target in the second half. The closest they had was the Mount lob that went over the bar and that free kick off the outside of the post.
Yeah.
And so then I think within 5 minutes, when I'd see they're not really creating anything after that, I knew it would have to be something like a free kick or Jordan Pickford error that would lead to their goal because we were defending so well. Yeah. And I remember at the time, our forwards were getting very, very tired. And Carlo didn't make a sub until the 83rd minute, which confused me. I was screaming, "Sub on Anthony Gordon, please," which he eventually did, but took a while. It took a while. But I get not changing anything in the back line because we were defending so well for the last 30 minutes of the game.
Right. Yeah. So as far as players who played well, and you got stats to back it up.
I do. So on my player ratings article, my man of the match was Ben Godfrey. I think if it had just been the first 45 minutes, I would have given it to Alon because he was everywhere. But I'm giving it to Ben Godfrey. From left back, he had 6 recoveries, 5 interceptions, 2 clearances, 2 aerials won, 2 fouls won. And I think one moment that was huge that I mentioned is there was a time where Everton were starting to counter. There was a bad giveaway in midfield. I don't remember who it was. But the ball gets immediately played out to Werner, who had switched to the right wing. And it's Werner versus Godfrey in a foot race. And Godfrey completely muscles him out of it. Takes out one of the fastest players in the entire league and comfortably turns on the ball and plays it back up field to Doucouré. And it was just an incredible piece of play. And I was clapping. I was like, come on, Ben, that's fantastic. But his stats from left back, that's incredible. He had, a very, very good game. And I was like, I'm very surprised that he just put out, probably one of the best performances of his career in a position that he had never played before. He had only played it for 60 minutes in the game before against Burnley.
And we're playing against Chelsea in this one. Yeah.
Exactly. He's playing, and he was matched up for the end of the game one-on-one against, as I said earlier, a player who had 26 Bundesliga goals last year, was one of the most informed strikers, attackers, whatever, if he's playing on the wing or up top, in the entire world. Like Timo Werner, he hasn't quite found his feet immediately, but you can't deny that he has the quality to be one of the most dangerous attackers in Europe.
Yeah. So you look at Godfrey played well, but it's one of those weird moments where you're kind of like, I think it's viable to pick for more people to pick more than one player to be player of the game here. man of the match, because you could sit there and look, because your player of the game and my player of the game are actually different, but both had really strong, and
Who
so
was
I'm
yours,
looking
out of curiosity?
Alon, because I look here at your stats.
That was my close second.
Yeah.
11 recoveries. That's ridiculous. And we would think that would be like the highest we'd see for a while. Spoiler, Abdoulaye Doucouré gets more against Leicester. But 11 recoveries, 4 successful dribbles, 3 interceptions, 2 tackles, 2 fouls, 1. I think something that's really surprised me about Alon that I don't even think we saw at the beginning of the season, but that we're now seeing more when he's been playing in more like the double pivot instead of by himself at the base of the midfield triangle, is he can turn and carry the ball.
He has carried the ball
really
lately a lot. Yes.
Really well.
I agree.
It's something that he wasn't doing because he was very isolated at the base of that midfield triangle. But now that he has a little bit of cover from Doucouré, he did it a lot against Chelsea. And man, was he successful. I mean, 4 successful dribbles from defensive midfield. That's really impressive.
Yeah, that was, and I partially gave it as well because of him, shooing away Richarlison on the penalty as well. Just because it's one of those, like, I was like, finally we have a player like this. This is great. Somebody who's doing all the little stuff, all the little important stuff that they know a team needs. It was. I
also think we should mention, I think Michael Keane was fantastic too. I think he should get a mention.
I think Michael Keane's has been solid this season, man. He's been solid.
And so we'll go to the touchy topic real quick, which is Gylfi Sigurdsson. He created 7. I think it was 6 chances against Chelsea. Mm-hmm. We had Everton created 7 total chances. 6 were created by Gylfi Sigurdsson. That's the most by an Everton player in a game in over 2 years.
Gylfi.
It was a good performance from him. I didn't give him too highly, I guess. I mean, that might have been biased from me that I gave him like a 7.5, where I gave Keane an 8, and I gave Allen an 8.5, and I gave Godfrey a 9. Just kind of be sequential. But it was the best game that he's had in an Everton shirt since 2018-19 by far.
Yeah. It was one of those where I wasn't sitting there, cussing at him under my breath, because I'm like,
which is what we've been.
You went into the 50-50. That's so great. I'm so excited. You actually, So,
and he was busting his lungs in the press, man, as the second forward pressing Chelsea's back line. He was working really hard. So it was good to see.
I agree. Yeah. That's one of those. I feel like he did that when he first came to the club as well. He did run. He did press.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really nice to see. Really nice to see him playing well. I feel like I feel like a lot of players are getting confidence under Carlo, man.
It's almost like we have a world-class man manager.
Exactly. And
so shall we move on to Leicester?
Yes, and just one last thing. I mean, before that, I just want to mention Iwobi looking good. Yeah, look good against Chelsea, and then we'll talk Leicester now in a game in which he looked good as well. So, moving on from Chelsea, card's gone. It's on the other side of the room now. Maybe my best throw ever. Let's talk Leicester. All right. I just rewatched this today. No. I just watched this today. Yesterday when it was on, I was like slightly watching it because I was on at work and I was having to listen, and I was shooting a video at work. It was a Home Alone parody, and it was really hard. So I was sitting there, and it was on, and a United fan was watching my screen, and I was working, and then he was like, "You just missed it, man. You just missed it, Richarlison." So and I was just like, you know what? That's fine. I'm okay if I missed it. I'm gonna watch it later. So anyway,
let's start pre-match again.
Good, yeah.
So we had one change. Which was
unexpected.
Jordan Pickford getting dropped for Robin Olsen, which caused quite a storm on Twitter.
Did it?
People were people were shocked. It was shocking. People did not see that coming.
I didn't see it coming.
After the Newcastle game, it shouldn't be that unexpected.
Right. That's what I mean.
But I think what people were confused about was that Pickford had just played a very solid game. Like if he was doing this after the Brighton game or something, that would make sense because he made a big error that led directly to a goal. But so that was the only change, which is exactly, I expected there to be no changes. But, goalkeeper switch, the system was the same. All the personnel was the same other than Robin Olsen, who had a really good game, I'll say. I mean, he didn't have much to do. But, man, does he look stable back there.
Yeah, he looks great. I like him a lot. And I feel very comfortable with him playing, period.
He doesn't scare you at all. He doesn't scare you.
No, I like him a lot. I will say, thinking about a time when you're going to rotate Pickford out just to – because he said – Carlos said he likes to rotate. He'll do that. If you're going to do it, doing it after a really good game doesn't damage his confidence. It's actually really solid man management. Yeah,
correct. And also, if you remember, there was one back pass from Godfrey where Pickford slipped and seemed to like tweak his hip a little bit. So that could have also been a big part of it because he was carrying a knock for most of that Chelsea game.
Gotcha.
So the more that I thought about it when I saw the team news come out, the more it made sense. I was like, okay, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. And so then for Leicester, there was actually a big change for them is that they switched from a back three to a back four. Johnny Evans got suspended for card accumulation in the Brighton game that they convincingly won. And so it was Wilfred Ndidi, who is normally a defensive midfielder, who is also just back from injury, he missed a lot of time, who slotted into defense next to 19-year-old Wesley Fofana, who has been very, very impressive, but he's 19. He's very inexperienced.
Yeah,
that was the big change.
Yeah, I'm a big Ndidi fan. Every time I watch him, I'm kind of amazed at his work rate and how much ground he covers. And he's just, he's one of my favorite Leicester players. He's just really freaking awesome. So I feel like
I'd argue he's the best player on their team. He's the best player on their team. I think he genuinely could play for a club at the very top, and I would be surprised if he didn't soon, because there's somebody's got to come knocking. Like just springing to mind, Casemiro isn't getting any younger, so
hey,
I wouldn't be surprised if Madrid came calling for Wilfred Ndidi.
It did occur to me. It did occur to me, by the way. I was like, I'm surprised he's still there. I did think that watching that game,
especially with them not being in the Champions League, right?
Right. Yeah.
He's Champions League quality. Like he should not be playing in the Europa League. I'm just gonna say that. But then again, James Rodriguez isn't playing in Europe at all. So. And
that is us having perspective. So.
Yeah. So first half, my first note from the first half is that Lee Mason is an absolute moron.
Not a fan.
Some of the no calls there were horrendous. Richarlison was getting kicked all over the pitch, but I swear there's, the whole reputation of Richarlison being a diver, and which is, in my opinion, not true. He just goes down a lot because he gets fouled a lot. Like his numbers should be, if there wasn't like a bias against him, in my opinion, his numbers should be up there with Jack Grealish for the, one of the most foul players in the entire league, because he gets kicked all over the place. And he was getting kicked all over the place, and Lee Mason just wasn't giving him a single call, and he was visibly frustrated. But what did he do? He went out and he took out that anger on Kasper Schmeichel's gloves.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a good play. That was with Richarlison. I think the frustration that I had when he first came to us was the fact that, not necessarily that he's going down a lot, but I guess it's the fact that it's sort of the getting hurt just enough to stay down for a while and then get up. It's just, you know what I mean? That's the thing where you're kind of like, okay, and I feel like Silva had to talk to him when he first came in. Like, hey, you can't be doing this stuff too much. You know what I mean? Because it happened. They stopped giving him the benefit of the doubt. Right? Yeah. I remember when this happened.
Yeah.
And he started staying up more later on in the season. He genuinely did. And this was a perfect. You're completely spot on with that, man. It was annoying because I was like, I know he's getting hacked here. I know it. Right? When a player holds onto the ball and is that impactful and is brave enough to take on tons of defenders, they're going to get hacked a lot. And he does, but he stays down for so long. And I feel like that's what's pissing people off, but anyway. But he's not.
I think there is another side to that coin, though, because he picks up a lot of knocks. Like the fact that he's played as many games as he has for Everton is ridiculous. Because I remember in his second ever game for the club against Southampton at home, on like the side of the Goodison pitch over on the Bullens Road side, and he completely rolled his ankle on like the artificial turf that was there. And I was like, oh man, he's out
I
for a month.
remember that.
Nope, kept playing, played the next game. The next example is West Ham in the Cup at the beginning of this season, where I thought he broke his ankle. I was like, he's out for the season. No, he missed. He played in the Brighton game. He had to come off. Yeah. But then, there was the international break right after that, and then he came back and he was totally fine again. Yeah. And then of course he got suspended. But
he played through the wrist injury this game too. So
we might hear some news about that. I mean, Allan also in the Chelsea game got stamped on by Tammy Abraham and played through that. I don't know if you saw that. Tammy Abraham completely put all his weight stamped on Allan's hand, and he had to go. And while during one of the substitutions, Allan had to run over to the side and get his hand taped up. He was in a lot of pain, and Richarlison was too when that wrist happened. But man, they're tough players. They're tough. That's one thing about Richarlison is when I see him go down, I know that 99% of the time he's going to keep playing, even when he's getting hacked, when he picks up a legitimate knock.
So he takes that 21st minute. Yeah, 21st minute.
Yeah,
he ends up
21st minute. It's a Wobie from the right side, who cuts it in, plays it across the field. Richarlison takes 2 touches, a little drop of the shoulder, beats Justin to the inside, and then it's not the best strike. It's not, and I wouldn't say it's exactly like a Schmeichel error. Like Schmeichel should do better, but I think taking any credit away from Richarlison there is a bit ridiculous because that's a solid strike from 22 yards. He gets a lot behind that ball on the ground towards that far corner, and Schmeichel's wrists just aren't strong enough to keep it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm not going to call it an error either because, he got to it, but it was going. Was it going side netting already?
It wasn't exactly side netting, but there was actually this back angle. I don't know if you saw the angle from the camera in the goal where he squeezed the ball perfectly between these 2 defenders. So he couldn't have put it more in the corner because it would have been blocked. And obviously that's fortuitous that it got through, but I think realistically it would have been impossible for that to be more in the corner because there was a player he curved it around the back of Fofana, but in front of Ndidi or something.
So you're thinking Schmeichel was blocked by the defenders and didn't see it until it came
100%
out.
He was unsighted.
Then that 100%. That makes total sense. But
he still knew where he was going, and you saw it's not like he reacted incredibly late, but it's when he got to it, there was so much behind the ball that he just couldn't do anything except for just deflect it further into the corner.
Yeah.
So I think a keeper of Schmeichel's quality should be doing better, but it's still a good take by Richarlison. He finally gets some luck in front of goal, which he really hasn't been getting much this season.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It was. It had to. A player of his quality getting this many chances, it has to come. It has to come around eventually. So
yeah, and now I think the floodgates will open now. To be honest, I would be surprised if he doesn't score against Arsenal on Saturday.
Yeah, I got to agree with you on that. So moving on. The next play of note is the one that they would not stop harping about the entire game, talking about the commentators. It was Vardy's header, man. They would not stop talking about this.
It was the same thing as the Chelsea game, right? We score the opener, we're sitting back, but for some reason we looked a bit too relaxed or something. It's the same thing. Leicester were putting on a lot of pressure for the 5 to 10 minutes right after the game, and that was the best chance that they created the entire game. It's a cross from James Justin, who's really fast, who beat, I think it was Godfrey on the left side. Might have been Richarlison who was covering, I'm not sure. But James Justin goes on the right side, crosses it in. It's a wide open header for the Golden Boot leader. I understand why they were talking about it. Vardy should score that. It's Jamie Vardy. The fact that when I saw that ball going in, I was like, that's a goal 100% of the time. But he heads it straight at Robin Olsen,
who does a fantastic job of saving a ball that was right at him.
Yeah. He fumbled it a little bit at first, but it didn't matter. He got it, but that was Leicester's best chance of the game, and after that, they created nothing really. I think that was. I know they only had 2 shots on target the entire game. I think that was the first, and then they had one team effort that was straight at Olsen at the beginning of the second half or something. Yeah. But they created nothing, man, because, So we had that chance, which, they did keep talking about. And then we had, I think after that, there was the Calvert-Lewin chance where Iwobi had another cross in. Calvert-Lewin, it was a little bit behind him, and he almost had to try to go for a bicycle, or not a bicycle, like a scissor kick, at the side. And Ndidi puts him off just enough that, he kind of shanks it down into the ground, and then Sigurdsson's there trying to put it away. Ends up trickling through to Schmeichel, and then we had a free kick delivery, which Calvert-Lewin headed straight at Schmeichel, which I haven't seen. Like, I watched the extended highlights, and they didn't include that. I'm like, that was actually a really good chance.
Yeah, it was a great chance. Yeah, I remember wondering how he didn't do better on that one too. But they didn't talk about that one all game, though.
No, they didn't, and that was. I mean, it wasn't as good of a chance.
It wasn't as he was contested. He was contested. There's the difference.
Yeah, but it was. But he still got a lot of contact behind the ball. It was just straight down Schmeichel's throat.
Yeah.
And then we had the worst moment of the entire game.
This is terrible. This is awful. Yeah.
Alon is covering down Everton's left-hand side, covering Godfrey, and he pulls up, and you can immediately see he did some damage, and he goes down. He immediately calls for a sub. He gets stretchered off. But funnily enough, I don't know.
Scared us even worse. Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
I don't know if you caught this. He got out of the stretcher and walked down the tunnel.
Yeah, he was walking.
But his left leg was stiff as a board. He wasn't He wasn't bending his knee at all. Which I don't really understand why he did that. But you could also say that that's maybe a good sign, but I'm not sure. He took to Instagram today and said, like, "Oh, I'm devastated about the injury, the time I'm going to miss." We'll see. I'm hoping it's not like a full tear. Hopefully it's not that bad. So we'll see. But yeah, that was a really frustrating moment. That was basically the worst thing that could have happened, to be honest. I think he's probably the player I would have wanted to get injured the least, just because we don't really have anybody else who can do what he does, at least until JPG is back, which who knows when that's going to be. So that was really disappointing.
Yeah, I was on that shoot and I wasn't watching, and I got all this flood of messages from Toffee Blues contributors who were talking, and it was just like, shit, no, this is the worst. And I was like, oh no, we got scored on. Oh no. And then I looked and I'm like,
it's worse.
Oh,
I would have rather conceded 100%. But we thought his groin injury that he had against West Ham would be bad. Yeah. And I think he only missed like 3 weeks or something. Obviously, we had the international break, which was really nice. We didn't have all these congested fixtures. But yeah, hopefully we just have to wish for a speedy recovery. And I think we'll talk about later definitely how will Carlo Ancelotti tinker the side to try to replace that midfield presence for Arsenal, and then the huge Carabao Cup quarterfinal with Manchester United at Goodison on Wednesday. Yeah,
this one's awful. But we brought in Andre Gomes, and not the worst performance from Andre.
Not the worst. This was I talked to a lot of people on Twitter about this, and I think on the ball he was good, and the commentators immediately said there's a calmness that he brings, which I think is true.
It was immediate. You're right.
immediately pinging some like left-footed diagonal balls, 30 yards across the pitch and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I think just off the ball when we're defending, especially in a game like that where we have 39% possession, we're up a goal, we're defending a lead. He's not good enough defensively. I think last season he was. I'm just trying to recall some stats, but he was something like the second or third most dribble pass midfielder in the entire league. He just can't win one-on-one battles defensively. He gets dribbled past, he gets beat way too much. And he was lucky that Abdoulaye Doucouré was having an absolutely incredible performance and cleaning up basically everything that Andre let through.
Yeah, Doucouré was ever present.
And he started to show that. He started to show that immediately after the Allen injury, when Vardy was running through on goal and Doucouré just gets a little poke.
Just the slightest little toe on it, man.
And it was the same thing as what happened. I don't know if you remember this at the end of the first half against Tottenham when Lucas Moura was going through, and it was the same thing, a last-ditch tackle.
That was when he tracked him down, right? It was just like
I think it was in the second half. It was in the second half because I know we were going towards the end where Calvert-Lewin scored. But yeah, it was the same thing. Those big long legs getting there just in time, and that's what he did again. But that was telling of what would happen in the second half.
Yeah. So second half starts, and we're doing a lot of rebuffing.
There was really not much going on. We didn't have the ball very much, but Leicester couldn't break into the final third at all. Basically, the entire game was being played in the middle of the pitch. Not much happening. And then Carlo decides to tinker a little bit, which I really liked. And he swaps Richarlison and Iwobi to get Richarlison against Fuchs. Because Iwobi was getting the better of Fuchs, but Fuchs was staying so far off of him that, Iwobi could get his crosses off. A bunch of them were getting blocked. And I was talking to Ryan about this because, of course, Ryan is, big Iwobi supporter. But that switch, I think it made sense because I think Richarlison is a very direct player. Not that Iwobi isn't, but I don't think Fuchs could really afford to stay off of Richarlison as much because his final ball, his end quality, I think is a little bit better than Iwobi's. Yeah. And then also the matchup against James Justin, I think, was better for Iwobi than it was for Richarlison because James Justin is a very similar fullback to Reece James, and Richarlison wasn't necessarily getting the better of either of them. He did get the better of Justin for the goal, of course, but we weren't, as much as Leicester weren't able to fashion anything, we weren't really creating anything off the break either. And James Justin is a very fast fullback, just like Reece James.
Also you got Iwobi and Richarlison, two very different players. Richarlison, right, is more of a direct goal scorer. And that's really why he's just so incisive. And Iwobi is more of a number 10 that's playing on the wing, right? And so he's going to be doing so much more distribution. And you're just taking two different kinds of instruments and swapping them, and you're just attacking in different ways, which I think is brilliant, right? So yeah, it was a change that I always like seeing when managers screw around like that. I love that.
Yeah, liked it. And then I just note here, Decore tackles, recoveries, incredible, and we'll get to his stats later. And then basically nothing really happened up until the 72nd minute. We win a corner off of a counterattack. Gylfi whips it in. It's Michael Keane who heads it at Kasper Schmeichel, who makes a save, and then it comes to Calvert-Lewin, who taps it in, except Schmeichel makes an outrageous save, tips it onto the bar, and then Mason Holgate is there to tap it home on his left foot, which I think it's kind of like it's poor from Leicester that we got to the ball first on three times in their own 6-yard box. That's not good defending. It really isn't. But it should have gone in the first place. That was outrageous goalkeeping from Kasper Schmeichel. And if that had not ended up in a goal, that would have been more than atonement for letting Richarlison's shot find the corner.
I have no idea how DCL didn't get it. Like, Keane's, I could understand the save a little bit. DCL just put it like – it was in the air, but it was still down the middle. It was a fantastic save, though. And the adjustment that Holgate had to make to get that left foot on it that quickly, pounced. It was nice. Yeah, it was great. And then, Mason Holgate had the best knee slide we've ever seen since Seamus Coleman against Swansea. I don't know if you remember when Seamus Coleman scored that crazy swerving shot. He does the 20-yard kney slide, and then he starts kicking the ad boards. Yes. And I was talking about this on Twitter. People were like, oh, Mason Holgate, best knee slide. I'm like, man, Seamus Coleman at Swansea, man. But really great to see Mason Holgate score his first Premier League goal for Everton. That was great. Yeah, and that was the slide. My kids were like, he just kept going. It was the best. Yeah, and I was like, yes, it was. It was a good damn moment. And I feel like Holgate getting back, gradually being worked back in ever since his injuries, getting worked back in a little more regular. That kind of thing is just massive for confidence. And then you see the video after the game where he's super, he is very happy. It's cool to see, man. It's just really cool. Yeah. It was concerning because, he was, in my opinion, I think he was our best defender, especially in the second half of last season. Yes. And then, that really unfortunate toe injury.
which kept him out. And then when he did come back, his first couple appearances, like against United, he was poor against United. He was not good. And so it's really nice to see him getting his run of games again, even if it's at right back, but really finding his form again. And I love how versatile he is. And he could be an option to fill in for Alan. We'll talk about that, but we'll see. But we have that. And then the next thing that happens is Andre Gomez taking down Ayoze Perez in the box. You want to talk about that one?
Pretty damn soft. I didn't see an angle where he actually like touched him, and it looked like he got the ball first. But I got to be honest, man. Is it me, or is this the kind of thing that definitely would always have gone against us? Always.
Potentially. I mean,
I've never seen them actually look at it for us. Actually look at the screen and then go against the initial vibe, because you could say, oh, maybe there's contact. You know what I mean? I didn't think there was irrefutable evidence. You know what I mean?
Well, here, I wrote a whole article about going to the monitor. I was a big proponent of going to the monitor before the season, because that's what they do a lot more in MLS. And most of the time in the Premier League, at least, when they go to the monitor, they're most likely going to overturn it, because that means that the VAR is in their ears saying, hey, I think you made a clear and obvious error. You should go look at it. But at first, I thought that Gomez didn't touch the player nor the ball. It's possible he may have touched Ayoze Perez, but you can see on the replay, and I think this is what Lee Mason saw, so he just gets the slightest of nicks on the ball. Like,
gotcha.
It was, you can just barely see it move forward, and I think that was the evidence that prompted them to switch the decision.
Yeah.
But even if he didn't touch the ball, like maybe there wasn't enough to overturn it, but that's not a penalty, man. Ayoze Perez just falls over. It's just not a penalty.
And Lee Mason, by the way, was looking right at
No, he was standing right there.
He was so right. Yeah, Lee Mason.
So I'm glad VAR got it right. Here's my biggest problem. That should be a yellow card for Ayoze Perez every time. That is diving.
Yeah.
But maybe they wouldn't in that situation, because they say, oh, Gomez got the ball and the man. They say maybe he did touch Perez, so then it's not a dive. But realistically, that's a dive.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm one of those people who says, yeah, possibly he got some contact on him. It's not enough for him to go down like that. It did seem to me like it was an attempt to deceive a match official on a potential penalty.
Yep, and who's the only player to get suspended for that?
Oh, yeah. Poor
Lord Umar.
Poor Nias. You know what I mean? I'm still angry about that one, though. Don't get me started on that one. That because there was more contact.
That's the one that gets suspended. Like, you guys watch Liverpool? Like,
there was more contact on that one than other games in which people faked to beat us. You know what I mean? I remember when Martial totally did a flop and drew a penalty. They beat us on that.
On Idrissa Gueye. Oh, I was fuming after that one. He didn't touch him. He didn't touch him. He stuck his leg out, but there was no contact. Martial goes over, but that's pre-VAR days, and so there's nothing you could do. Whoops.
Yeah, that one gets me still. So anyway, Omar was pre-VAR days too, right?
It might. Yeah, I think it was, which is the worst part, is that they decided for that one of all of them to go back and.
They were not going to do it to United, though. They were going to do it to us
or Liverpool. I mean, in my opinion, I think Mane and Salah are like two of the worst divers in the entire league. And I know this is biased, but like
no argument here.
and I think Trezeguet on Villa is up there as well.
Oh yeah.
And obviously Jack Grealish, but I mean Grealish does also get hacked all the time, so I kind of can understand that a bit more.
Yes, he does.
Where like some of the memes that I see of Liverpool players going down is hilarious. Like, I don't know if you saw the little push in the back that Anthony Robinson had on Salah in that Fulham Liverpool game.
Oh yeah.
But people were like putting him on a roller coaster. Like, it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was great.
And then Ayoze Perez. So Ayoze Perez scored. Vardy headed headed on a corner, and Ayoze Perez puts it away, but he's clearly offside, and it doesn't stand. And that's basically the end of the game. There were no chances after that.
Yeah.
So I think that second half, it's another second half where we have the lead for the entire half, And in the first game, Chelsea had 0 shots on target. Second game, I think Leicester had 1, and it was like straight at Olsen. It was so not notable. It's not even on my match notes. And so that shows you, like, in the past when we're closing out games like this, like, you know, I'll take us back to Newcastle, for example. Get to relive that a little bit. But, you know, we are under the cosh and we are giving away chances and relying on blocks and saves and whatnot. They didn't have any chances at the end of this game, and neither did Chelsea. Like, we were so confident in our defending in the final 10 minutes, and it almost made me for a second think that I wasn't watching Everton.
Yeah. I mean, they would have a decent amount of the ball, clearly. They would have a decent amount of the ball, but they were having trouble getting a clear look at goal. You know, that's the thing. And that, to me, is that bend, don't break mentality. You know, it's a very clean sheet mentality, if you will. Wink. That's a nod to Toffee Blues' other videos that they make. So yeah, apparently that's an Owen thing. There you go, Owen from Toffee Blues.
But I think Doucouré undoubtedly was a huge reason of that, because James Maddison was not involved in this game at all.
No,
he did nothing. Really, I think Yuri Tielemans was the most lively of Leicester's midfield, yes. But even so, like, he had that one shot that he put wide at, like, literally in the first maybe like 4 minutes of the game.
It was early.
Other than that, like, they had nothing of note, and it was really impressive defending, especially, you know, with a makeshift back line. But it makes sense. They're 4 defensive players, you know, with Luka Dean and I mean, Seamus Coleman's good defensively, but let's say if we had played Jonjo Kenny at right back, would the end of this game been that comfortable? I mean, we did end up subbing Kenny on, but it was in the 90th minute, so didn't really have much of an impact. But
I will say I'm glad he got some time, though.
Yeah,
I will say I think that any way of kind of working him in, thinking about, like, how busy the festive period's going to be, I think, you know, getting Gordon some more minutes, getting him some more minutes, this stuff is just positive vibes. It's just good for confidence.
You'll see if you follow me on Twitter, you will see I am a big fan of Anthony Gordon. I really like Anthony Gordon. I think he's a really quality player. And I have been a bit disappointed by his lack of playing time, really, especially when Richarlison was suspended, because I think he is the best like-for-like replacement, because he is that fast, direct player who can beat players.
We've talked about this a few times, man.
Yeah, I really like him, and I'm glad. And you could what I loved is if you watched, like, the kind of behind-the-scenes video that Everton posted on YouTube for the Chelsea game, when Calvert-Lewin won that second penalty, which was overturned, you can see Anthony Gordon on the sideline, like, yeah, when it gets awarded. It was fantastic. I love him. He's great.
So you mentioned Doucouré having an impressive little run in this one, and it was impressive. You know, I remember before I actually watched the game today, you told me, you were like, "Oh, Doucouré was great." You know, so yeah, and he was everywhere. He was my man by far. Yeah, and the thing is, like, we've been talking about what Idrissa Gueye used to bring. You know,
yeah,
and this is what Doucouré brings, but I feel like he's even better when it comes to forward passes, which is, you're going to talk about this kind of stuff anyway. But I feel like he carries the ball forward at a faster rate. It's just yeah, I love Idrissa Gueye too. I don't want to sit there and say that Doucouré is better, but I think we have a player that's doing some of the same stuff, and I think it's awesome. So you want to talk about Doucouré a little bit?
Yeah, so Doucouré, the thing is, I don't think he's as good defensively as Idrissa Gueye. He doesn't have that ridiculous tackling ability, where Idrissa Gueye seemed to never lose a tackle. If he went in for a tackle, he won it every single time. Which Doucouré, he doesn't quite have that, because, you know, he's more box to box, but I think he's better going forward than Idrissa Gueye was, as we said. But the thing is, like, I
gotta be honest, I can't say I can't completely concede that point, because I think he's freaking awesome defensively. I think he gets everywhere he needs to get.
I think this was his best game defensively, because we've seen him. He's good at progressing the ball forward. He's very good at that, and we saw that he had 19 successful forward passes and 8 successful attacking third passes today, which is really good. But I think today he really showed defensively something that he hasn't quite shown us yet, I don't think. Because, you know, in that stretch of games where we were, you know, dropping in form, I really didn't think Doucouré was playing particularly well. But, man, did he turn it on today. I mean, 13 recoveries. That is outrageous. 13 recoveries, and I guarantee you the vast majority of those were after Alan's injury in the last 50 minutes of the game. He was everywhere, and even that. So I saw like people on Twitter saying, "Wow, incredible! If only he could improve his passing." I mean, he had 88% passing accuracy from defensive mid. Like that's not bad at all.
No,
like that is a very solid number. But 13 recoveries, 2 successful tackles, 2 interceptions. 1 foul, 1. I mean, you'd think his tackles and interceptions would be higher, but he made so many recoveries, he didn't even have to tackle anybody. It was ridiculous.
That's the thing with him, though, and I feel like he does a really good job. He slows so many attacks down just by recovering, and so that's why I don't know. I feel like it's a different defensive style that I love.
Yeah, it was incredible, and I think if we decide to play Gomez, and we'll talk about this, if we decide to play Gomez next to Decore for the Arsenal game, it is going to ask a lot of Decore again defensively, and it might be a little risky to bank on him, putting out such an outrageously good performance. But I wouldn't be surprised if Carlo trusted in him and decided to do it. Next up, I had Michael Keane again, was fantastic. He also was progressing the ball forward a lot. Springing some counters, 16 successful forward passes, 77% pass accuracy from center back. That's good. 5 recoveries, 5 clearances, 4 aerial duels, 1, 3 shots blocked, and an interception. I think Michael Keane has by far been our best defender this year. And I think a lot of people have been commenting on him. He's getting some praise right now, which he should be, because he's been colossal, especially these last 2 matches.
Oh, yeah.
And he was great against Burnley, too, in my opinion. I thought – Burnley are a team that can really challenge you from set pieces in the air. That's basically what they're built to do. And Keane was just heading everything out.
Yeah, Keane, for me, the thing that surprised me the most about Keane this season is his ability to split the lines with his passing. Just, it's the kind of thing that, I don't know, it's a weird thing that when I first started watching Premier League, I wasn't looking for it. But now when I see a center back with the ability to be able to do that, get a head up and start an attack like that and pass an entire midfield with a beautiful through ball. Oh, geez. So
his ball for Dominic Calvert-Lewin's opener against West Ham. Yeah. If you know what I'm talking about, fantastic. He's basically right now he's playing like John Stones if John Stones could defend.
I'm down with that.
Yeah. All right, so I have some fun stats here. So Everton have now won back-to-back league games without conceding a goal for the first time since April 2019, when we actually did it 3 in a row, when we beat Chelsea at home 2-0, goals from Richarlison and Sigurdsson from the spot. Oh, well, actually, no, because remember the Sigurdsson penalty got saved and they tapped in the rebound. And then when we beat West Ham on the road at the London Stadium, and then we also beat Arsenal right after that 1-0. But so, I mean, back-to-back wins without conceding. First time we've done that in a while.
And Arsenal to make it 3, huh?
Yeah, and this was only the second time we've had back-to-back clean sheets under Ancelotti at all. The first of which being when we had the 0-0 in the derby, the first game back from restart, and then when we beat Norwich 1-0 on the road.
Yeah.
So Carlo was not lying when he said that we were working on defensive parts of our game, especially after the Fulham game, and even more recently than that, just talking about, our defending needs to be better. And they've obviously been working on that, because back-to-back clean sheets against 2 of the most, potent teams in the entire league, coming up against the reigning Golden Boot leader and someone who's second in the Golden Boot at the moment and not giving him a sniff other than that one chance, which ended up being a comfortable save. Really, really good defensively. Here's another fun stat for you. Richarlison has now scored at the King Power Stadium for 3 consecutive seasons, and he's had 4 total against Leicester for Everton. I don't know if you're looking at this out right now, but do you know that's actually tied most with one other club?
Yeah, I'm looking at your stuff right now.
You're looking at it.
I'm cheating. I'm cheating.
Which is Wolves, because he scored a brace in his debut at Molineux, and then he scored a brace at home against Wolves at the beginning of last season. But so that was 2 goal scoring flurries in 2 games, where with Leicester he basically scores every time he plays them.
Yeah,
he's now scored 4 goals. He scored 4 times in 5 meetings with Leicester. The only time he didn't score was when Vardy won that one on New Year's Day. I think that was 2 seasons ago, 2018-19, I believe.
Mm.
Leicester at home. Anyway, point is, if it's Leicester away, Richarlison's scoring. It was also only his second Premier League goal from outside the box.
This is surprising to me. I'm surprised.
And it was his first for Everton, because the first one was a goal he scored for Watford against Swansea at the Liberty Stadium, which was like a 95th minute winner or something. And It's hilarious because, I'm not kidding you, the ball was on the line. Like, I think that should count as in the box too. Basically, here's what we learned. Richarlison doesn't score from distance very often.
No,
he really
apparently
doesn't.
not. I definitely thought he would have had something just outside. How? But yeah, there you go.
But I went back and I checked this, and I looked at a bunch of his goals, and I realized, yeah, he's just a ruthless finisher inside the box.
Yeah,
that's what he is. Which, it's we have 2 of those, which is really great. But we do have some other players who are capable of scoring from distance. James, and we saw that. And then we can talk about before we move on to just a quick Arsenal preview. We can talk about the difference between our first 13 games of last season versus our first 13 games of this season.
This is much. This definitely, seeing this definitely smiles. Yes. The happy stuff.
Despite a drop in form, we're currently on 23 points after 13 games. Last year we were on 14. That is a 3-win difference. So this year we are on 7 wins, 2 draws, and 4 losses. The wins and losses were switched last year. 4 wins, 2 draws, 7 losses. And this was the first 13 games wasn't even when it was bad.
Right.
So like it was really after, from there until, however many we were at, I think it was like 20 or 21 when Silva was sacked. So like this is a significant improvement, especially considering the injuries. And I just think it's people, we were talking about this earlier, people saying Carlo Ancelotti is a bad fit for Everton are just clueless, in my opinion. I think he's a world-class manager and he can succeed anywhere. As long as he gets along with the owner and the director of football, which he didn't really in Napoli, and I think he does here. And the improvement is clear. And he's spent about half the money that Silva spent. By the way, he's only brought in 4 players, so 5 if you include Brentford.
I think there's also a little bit of a difference in director of football while those were happening as well.
Well, Brands was director of football during Silva's. It was really the amount of money spent.
Was Walsh not there at all?
No, Walsh left the summer that Silva and Brands came in at the same time, and Walsh's final season was 2017-18 with Big Sam when they in that summer they brought in 3 number 10s. Right.
Yes,
Rooney,
where they
Gilfie.
went like batshit. Yeah,
and then it was didn't replace Lukaku because why would you? What? And then apparently, it all went.
They tried. It
all went to hell. Koeman gets fired, and then what do they do in the January window? Oh, let's spend $45 million on Theo Walcott and Cenk Tosun.
Yep. So Bronze has been there the entire time, and basically, what was the difference in spending? So who did we get? We got Richarlison, and who else?
We got Richarlison. We got Luka Dean for $18 million, which is an outrageous deal. Like that's
crazy good. Yeah.
We got Bernard on free. We got Mina for 20. We got Gomez on loan, and I think that was everything because we still had Idrissa for that season, and then the next summer was Iwobi, Gomez permanently.
Gotcha.
Moise Keane, Gabaman. And,
so Ancelotti's only had one real window.
He's only had one real window, which was this summer because they didn't bring in anybody in January.
Yeah.
And then this window was Decore, James, Allen, Godfrey, Olsen on loan.
Yeah.
I guess they brought in Branthwaite in January, but like.
Yeah, but this summer has been just the bargain has just been ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, and here's a good stat to finish this off. For the longest time, Everton's away form has been their biggest problem. We haven't had a lot of struggles winning at Goodison over the past, decade or so, but we have not been able to win away. So this season, we've had 7 away games thus far. We've won 4 of them. For comparison, Everton, the last 2 seasons, only won 5 away games. Right? Out of the 19 that we played, we're 4 for 7 at the moment. That is a stark improvement.
That's huge.
Like we're gonna at least double our number of away wins if we continue like this, if not more. We'll see how consistent we can keep it, but that's a huge difference.
Yeah, I also think in addition to that, because I feel like a lot of that, part of that is personnel, but a part of it is like mentality. I think about our mentality and our ability to be able to hang on to a lead.
That's a huge part of it.
You know what I mean? A big part of this is mentality, and I feel like it starts with Carlo.
We've seen that multiple times now, right? Tottenham holding on to the lead at Tottenham. Crystal Palace, we had the lead for the entire second half, held on. Now away at Leicester.
Yeah. This has been this holding on to a lead and winning away. Just the shift in mentality has been brilliant. That to me is like biggest evidence of a shift of an entire group mentality. It's been wonderful.
It's a shame because the Evertonians who would be going away would be just having a blast because
I know.
Normally they spend their money, they go down and we lose to some horrible teams on the road. Newcastle away this year was a perfect example, but yeah. So shall we wrap up by previewing Arsenal?
Yes. Hold on. Bad throw. All right. So Arsenal preview. That's what's happening this weekend. Current form, they're not great. 15th in the table, 14 points. They're 4-2-7. Previous 4 matches, 1-1 draw with Southampton, which is actually a decent result for them right now. Before that, 1-0 loss to Burnley. Before that, a 4-2 win over Dundalk in Europa League. By the way, they are absolutely acing the Europa League, to be fair to them.
They finished top of their group.
They look great right now in Europa League. And before that, a 2-0 loss to Spurs, which I actually did watch. So right now, we were talking about this before, but they got a couple of players on suspension. Gabriel, who, was this close to being an Everton player last year before COVID. And Granit Xhaka chilling with some red cards. And Partey, I think, is out as well.
He's injured, I don't think he's going to make it back in time, that's a big positive for Everton.
Yes,
especially with the absence of Allen. If they did have Partey, I think Allen would be a much bigger miss in this game.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, the discipline under Arteta has been awful. They've had 7 red cards since he took charge.
Mm.
The second most is 3, and that's tied between 4 teams, including Everton, because we had the Richarlison red card, the Dean red card, and I think the other one was Delph on the road against Watford. But that's just an inexcusable amount of red cards. They had, obviously, Pepe headbutted Alioski a few weeks ago, and I think he's now back from that. But then Xhaka had his throat or had his hand on some player's throat. I forget. I think it was at the Burnley game. I'm not sure.
I think that's right, actually.
Now Gabriel gets a second yellow. And honestly, they were lucky to hold on to a draw in that game.
Yeah.
I was fully expecting, when I saw that Gabriel was sent off, I was really expecting Southampton to go and win that game. But it's going to be a makeshift team for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Their front line will look the same, but they've been really dull going forward thus far. Like, Aubameyang has 1 goal at the Emirates. He has 2 goals total. They didn't score a goal from open play for like over 8 hours in the league earlier this season. And now they don't have Xhaka, they don't have Gabriel, they don't have Partey. So what I'm expecting is I think we'll either see Pablo Mari in the back line potentially, but I think it might be David Luiz and Holding because they know that they're about to come up against Calvert-Lewin. That's a bit more of a physical presence, but then at that point, Calvert-Lewin is going to run them ragged if he finds space in behind. And then in the midfield, we could see any combination of Ceballos, El Neni, Willock, potentially Ainsley Maitland-Niles, but he might be playing right back. It depends. Him and Bellerin have been getting rotated, I believe. But either way, no matter who we play alongside Doucouré, I think that's a midfield battle that we'll really be looking to win.
Yeah, and Tierney probably on the left.
Yeah, Tierney at left back. He's a shoo-in pretty much at this point. So he's a quality player, good player.
Yeah, and then going across, probably Willian, Lacazette, Saka with Aubameyang, I think?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, if they play a 3 at the back, then yeah, they might have Saka at left mid and Aubameyang at left wing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think Aubameyang might have been playing striker against Southampton, and then they subbed on Lacazette, but I could be wrong about that. But either way, it's they have that some. I think Partey being out, Partey and Gabriel are they're two most important players on that back half of the team. So that's gonna be a big miss for them, and honestly, I'll be disappointed with anything other than a win in this game. Let's look at the Everton lineup. So obviously we miss Allen. What do you think, Gerry? What do you think we're going to do in midfield next to Decore?
I feel like we're going to do exactly what we did last match. I'm pretty certain we're just going to see Andre Gomes come in and, be that, complete that 2 in front of the back 4. So yeah, I'm actually more, I'm more curious about the back 4 lineup if I'm being honest. Mainly, if we mentioned earlier in the show, or you mentioned earlier in the show, that Carlos said that Coleman would be back starting this weekend. So does that mean Holgate sits?
That's my question. So it is possible that Coleman's just back in the 18, but I'm pretty sure he's going to start. That's what I think, because I think Carlos said he could have played on Wednesday, but they didn't want to risk it, and so that means that he may have been on the bench on Wednesday. But I think he will probably start against Arsenal. If not, then I think we'll see the exact same back 4. But if he does, it'll be really interesting to see what happens, because Holgate on current form does not deserve to be dropped, really. And neither does anybody else after 2 clean sheets. Like switching up the back line after 2 clean sheets is questionable. But at the same time, it's going to be – I think Carlo might see that it is going to be beneficial, firstly, to have our captain back on the pitch. Secondly, to have an actual fullback playing fullback. We'll see. And it also, I tend to think you might be right about Gomez, but if we are worried about defensive stability – if Carlo doesn't want to rely on Decore as much defensively, a lot of people have been calling for Godfrey or Holgate to move into defensive midfield. No. I think either of them would be fine. Obviously, Holgate only played there once against United, but he was spectacular at Old Trafford playing in that position. Mm-hmm. But Ben Godfrey's a lot more used to it. So I think it's possible. If Ben Godfrey moves into midfield, then what do we see at left back? Because if Coleman comes in, we're not going to move Holgate to left back, are we?
That's what I mean. It's just too much shifting if you do that. The idea of Godfrey going to the middle, you'd have Holgate going all the way, and then you're disturbing 2 of the 4 parts of a back 4 that just had 2 straight clean sheets. And I don't understand the thought process, but if it would surprise me. Let's put it that way.
It is possible. It is also possible that we leave the back 4, we keep Coleman on the bench, and maybe Tom Davis comes into midfield. That is also a possibility. Mm-hmm. I would not prefer that. Davis has a good engine, but that's what Decore's for. I'd rather, if we have Decore in midfield, have someone next to him who's good on the ball, which is Andre Gomes, because Andre Gomes is good on the ball, as we talked about, not the best defensively, but he can progress the ball forward. And I remember against Arsenal on the road last year when we lost 3-2, was when he made his return from that horrible injury. Yeah. And immediately his class passing the ball was so evident. He was spraying 40-yard diagonal through balls like he hadn't missed a second of game time. So I tend to think if we see any changes, I think it might just be a Coleman to Holgate straight swap, which is rough on Holgate. But what we could also see is since Arsenal aren't particularly a threat in the air, although they do cross it a lot, I don't think it would be against possibility to see Holgate replace Mina and to see Mina dropped, but then that would be 2 changes to the back 4. So it really is up to Carlo whether he wants to stick with that same back 4 or not. There's definitely options though. It's not like yes, we don't have a direct replacement for Allen, but at least in this game against Arsenal, in the current state that they're in, I think we should be able to cope, because that's 5-6 different options we just named that Carlo can choose, and I'll be really intrigued to see what he does.
Yeah, and the thing that always gets me is when you start delving into December and you're playing a ton of matches, it's rapid fire, a lot. When because we know Carlo likes to rotate. So I'm wondering when that happens. When does that start? If he thinks, you know what, we're going to give Holgate just a little rest and then we'll play Coleman. Maybe it's not really about Colmate. Yeah, that's a word. That's a new player. That's the player
Colgate.
we need. So if he gives Holgate a rest, maybe it's not about him losing his spot. Maybe it's more just like, hey, you just came back. You played 2 in a row. You did well. Let's give you a break.
That's true. He is coming off an injury.
If it's more about just rotation, because if he does that, to give him a break, let Holgate or let Coleman play a couple of games, right? And then you can possibly work Holgate into one of the center back positions in the subsequent games. Why not? Right? Then you're making one change at a time potentially. I don't know. It's something to think about. You never know, and it could be Carlo trusts whatever player he goes with, and he's not worried about making big changes. It's entirely possible. So, yeah, I'm curious. I do think if there's a change, it'll be one change. But would it surprise me to see all 4 in the back completely unchanged? No. But it is weird if Coleman is healthy for him not to play. That's a weird thing.
So that's why I tend to think he'll start. I think the bottom line is please keep it as a back 4. Please, Carlo. Do not go back. We never want to see the back 3 again. Please don't do it. But I think the reason Carlo did that is because he didn't think that we would have any viable options at fullback with Dean and Coleman both injured. But then that Delph injury, when we moved Godfrey to left back, he realized, oh, wait, Godfrey can play left back. And then we realized, oh, wait, Holgate can play right back. So it's good to know that we have these options where it looks like we would be screwed and we would have to play wing backs because we didn't have any fullbacks with Dean and Coleman both injured. But now that's not the case. And I think it's a really good thing that our depth might be a little bit better than we thought it was. Because when we had to switch formation because of injuries, it seemed like, man, that's our Achilles heel is we don't have depth. When it turned out that if we had probably, kept a similar shape, the 4-2-3-1 is not the same as like what was more, we have the triangle this way instead of this way at the moment. But just, little tweaks and we still do have the personnel to pull off what is 2 ridiculously good results consecutively.
So yeah, just the whole, when you think about what we get out of Luka Dean is not what we get out of Godfrey at left back. You know what I mean? It's different demands, different attacking demands. One is expected to bomb forward and the other is expected to just not allow crosses and not let people crack through, right? So if you expect different things out of Holgate on the right, Godfrey on the left, you think just play defense and then you make sure the attack comes from other places, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's just all of a sudden we do have that depth because we're defensively sound. We may not be getting as many chances, but we're hard to score on, right?
True, and we're also playing a different way because, we were especially – I think James not being in the side is a big difference as well.
Agreed.
Because when James is in the side, we're not built to counterattack. That's with James and Dean playing and both pushing up and James, floating inside and Dean almost playing as a second left winger and Richarlison moving as a second striker. That's much more built for us to be creating chances when we have a lot of the ball. West Brom, Brighton, good examples.
Yeah.
But when we don't have James and when we don't have Luka Dean, and then we play Godfrey. Obviously, Godfrey does not have the attacking talents of Luka Dean because Luka Dean is, one of the best attacking fullbacks in the world. Okay. But defensively, he's been brilliant. And so then we're looking for other places to, start creating chances. Abdoulaye Doucouré is an example of progressing the ball. And I guess before Dean's injury, he scored in that game against Fulham. But also we're playing more on the counter. There's more space for us to run into. And when we have that, as we were talking about, Iwobi, that vertical threat on the right, and not James, we're much more built to counter, which is exactly what we need to do in these last 2 games. Definitely. I don't think we will need to counterattack as much against Arsenal, though, because their midfield is going to be, very second choice. I don't see them like being able to hold on to crazy amounts of possession like Chelsea and Leicester were, because, Leicester had Mendy, who's, not Ndidi, but he's not bad at ball recovery. And then Tielemans and Maddison, we already know, are fantastic players on the ball. Where Arsenal right now are going to have Mohamed Elneny, Danny Ceballos, who, is a decent passer, but I personally don't rate him. I don't think he's very good. And then Joe Willock or whoever else they choose to put in the midfield. I don't know. Like, do you see a ball progressor there? I think to me, it doesn't make sense. It makes no sense that they're paying Mesut Ozil $350K to stay at home when he's by far the best chance creator in that entire squad. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I do think you're talking about a squad that's still finding identity under their manager, like a lot. Like I think he's trying to change an entire culture, and I think he has to go. He's having to do this in spite of like ownership and a lot of stuff like that. It's a big hill for him to climb. And
I like Arteta, man, but I'm afraid that his leash is not going to get much longer, right? I think he might be on the verge of sacking at them. I think if Everton convincingly beat Arsenal on Saturday, it could be the final or we'll say penultimate straw for Arteta, but we'll see. Because speaking of which, not good enough for Arsenal.
Yeah. Speaking of which, what do you think the score is going to be? Prediction.
I'm gonna go 3-1 Everton.
And I am gonna go 2-0. I'm going for another
clean sheet.
Going for another clean sheet mentality. Ding. Yes. So very cool. We're both picking two goal wins. I don't know if that's a bad thing, but we'll find out. So that's it, man. That's the show. We're done. All right.
That was thorough, man. We got a lot in.
Yeah, Garrett. I just want to make sure I tell everybody. You need to check out Garrett's work on GrandOldTeam. He's a contributor there. Other pluggings besides follow Garrett on Twitter.
Yeah, just follow me on Twitter. It's if you take Garrett posts and you switch the P and the G, it becomes Parrot Ghost, and that's my Twitter. So you can find I tweet out my work, and you can find me on GrandOldTeam, and I'll be talking a lot on Twitter during basically every game for the rest of the year. So feel free to reach out, and I think we would both love to discuss whatever you want more. If you aren't already sick of talking to us, listening to us for the last 2 hours. So
Garrett, I did want to make sure I tell you thank you. I really appreciate the
thank you for having me on, man.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on and the fact that your prep and everything. I just want to say really appreciate it, man. It's good to talk to you. Hope to have you on again.
I would love to. I would love to.
And I'll probably be tossing you more personal questions at the beginning, so just prep for that.
Fantastic.
No, all right. So I'll just go ahead and do the rest of my plugging now. So everyone, please, if you're doing any Christmas shopping, check the link down there, Everton Direct. If you're doing Everton Christmas shopping, some really good stuff down there. Get some percentages off and everything, and it helps Toffee Blues, just saying. So please do that. Also, speaking of Toffee Blues, could you subscribe to our YouTube channel, please? Because
click it.
Yeah, please. And to be honest with you, the fact that we are where we're at right now after just a few years of having a channel, it's just crazy. So the support that everybody's been giving us has been awesome. We're over 7,000 on our subs right now, which is just crazy considering the fact that I remember when we were psyched to get like 100 views on a video. Crazy. And then Jink Tosin happened and smashed our realities. So I'm just saying, Turkish fans went nuts, and it was great. So
Tosin
anyway,
Pasha, baby.
Yeah, Tosin Pasha. So anyway, but I just want to tell everybody thank you. Subscribe to us if you haven't already, though. Check out the Toffee Blues on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out the Toffee Blues website because there's all kinds of awesome work on there from contributors that you see on this channel all the time. Last thing. This is my book, children's book. Wrote it inspired by a mistake I made on a Toffee Blues podcast on Christmas time 2 years ago. Yes, I thought a stuffed reindeer was a stuffed moose, and then Terry was like, "That sounds like a children's book," and I wrote a children's book. No kidding, Randolph the Christmas Moose. It's honestly, I'm pretty proud of it. It's doing all right on the Amazon reviews. It's been doing pretty cool. So yeah. It's a moose who likes to run. So just saying, if you're into a healthy lifestyle, healthy mindset, all that stuff, might be a pretty good book for you to read to your kids. Just saying. So check it out if you got anything. You can find it on Amazon. Just saying. All right. So that's all I got. Garrett, once again, thanks so much, man. Hope to see you soon.
You too.
All right, everybody else out there, 3 points against Arsenal. Make it happen. Make it so. All right. Much love to everybody. Bye.